My name is Hayden Graver. My parents were in and out of my life my entire childhood, so I lived with my grandparents most of the time. My parents disappointed me time after time, and I just said screw it. I started smoking weed when I was 15, but soon started doing harder stuff like meth and heroin. I was involved with the wrong people and was either strung out or high on something every night. I was using to escape my situation and always chasing a life I didn't have. Then I got busted. I was arrested on January 22nd, 2016 and sent to rehab. For the first month I was a jerk to everyone there, but eventually I started to work the program. I made amends with people I had wronged and graduated the program a model client. I started high school again in the fall of 2016 and started making new friends. My goals that fall were to make all A's and B's and get back into shape. I was doing pretty well until my demons found me. I began living a double life. I was one Hayden to my family and friends and another Hayden when I wanted to get high. I would say anything, tell any lie to anyone to make sure I got my fix. It didn't matter how much love and support or material things my family provided for me. All I wanted was to escape and get high. On October 31st, 2016, Halloween night, I fatally overdosed in my bedroom at my grandparents' house from a deadly combination of heroin, meth, and cocaine. My name is Hayden Graver. I was 17 years old.
I was Hayden's step-grandfather. Mom and Dad both have their own addictions. As it turned out, I was the active role in his life.
What kind of comes to mind if you're telling somebody about Hayden?
Always happy-go-lucky, always up for a, adventure. Well, he lived with us off and on throughout the years, probably more so with us than not. But officially, he came to live with us in October of 2015. Every day, he'd come in and wish us good morning, and when he left, he'd always say, "I love you."
And at what point did you learn that he was maybe also struggling with some addictions?
It was also at that time, it was being reflected in his grades, and then eventually he started to get in trouble. He ended up sneaking out of the house in the middle of the night, unbeknownst to us. He was arrested for theft of jewelry. He was stealing the jewelry to sell it for money for drugs. And then he went into the C-Star program.
With teens with high school, you see several things. You'll see some kids start acting out. They've always been a really good kid. They didn't get in trouble, and all of a sudden they're doing stuff that's causing problems. I truly think trauma can be the root of a lot of things, of mental health issues. It can also be the root of substance use. A lot of our kids will even start self-medicating with substances to try to cover that they don't know. But depression, anxiety, trauma, they just want to feel good. They want to feel better because they don't feel well.
I think his problems, and he told me more than once, he was chasing that lack of a mother and father relationship that his friends had, and I think he missed that. And even though we were grandparents and we assumed that role, that still wasn't the same.
One of my coping skills when I get upset, whether that's anger, whether that's hurt, regardless, if it's to have a drink or to smoke a joint or do something to feel better, if that's my coping skill, then we never learn how to develop those emotions and how to develop those skills naturally. So let's say I use for 5 years, that problem probably is just growing and getting worse. I equate it to a physical wound. So if I have a cut on my hand and I wash it and I put medicine on it, I get stitches if I need it, it's gonna heal up. But what happens if I don't treat it? It gets infected. And not only does it get infected, it gets bigger. Emotional health is the same way. If we acknowledge it and we get help and we heal it, I don't forget it, but I'm stronger because of what I've learned from it, and my skills have gotten better.
The story, this is again Halloween, and that night, we hugged and told each other we love each other, and then the next morning I found him. Couldn't wake him up, and I called 911 and told me how to resuscitate, and I did that until the paramedics arrived. It's one of the roughest days of my life. Changed it forever. In his system, They found meth, cocaine, but the one that they said really was instrumental in his death was heroin.
When I'm using, my tolerance goes up. So if I have stopped using for a while, whether I've gone to treatment or I've just done it on my own, then my tolerance goes back down. So if I go back out and I use again the first time and I go to use the same amount I did when I quit, it's an overdose waiting to happen.
This was not intentional. As I understand, heroin is quite addictive, and once you take it, you can be addicted to it. It doesn't take several times, it just takes once. Anyone that does it can end up as Hayden did.
It's kind of like looking at the world through a straw. And when I'm depressed or I'm using, I just see this little hole in the straw. When I can get through that, I can see the big picture again. So being able to work with someone, rely on friends, know what can get me through this short period of time.
It's terrible to have your parents, grandparents come in and find you like that and then deal with all the aftermath. Hayden became my purpose. And overnight, my purpose is gone. What I think the message I would like to give is that it's not worth it.